to another episode of Pedagogy in Practice. Today, we have a real treat for you. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting at a new faculty seminar, and Scott Peat from biology had been invited to come talk to the group about what type of activities he does in class in order to engage his students. And one of the activities that he talked about were scavenger hunts that he uses for both face-to-face and online classes. And it got me thinking that we should probably invite Scott Peat to come talk to us in one of these episodes. So without further ado, I introduce to you the interview with Scott Peat all about scavenger hunts.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for joining me here today. I'm excited to talk with you about scavenger hunts.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So I guess let's go ahead and get right into it. So I've heard what you do in the classroom, and I saw your presentation at New Faculty Seminar. So I was hoping you could kind of tell me a little bit about what you do with scavenger hunts in your classroom.
Yeah, so I use scavenger hunts to just kind of get students more active in class. And I've used it in person, and I've used them also online during COVID, and continue to use them actually online as well. So again, it's getting the students outside. I teach biology, right? And it's a first semester biology majors course. And so in this class, we learn about the diversity of life. So we learn about prokaryotes, bacteria, protists, plants, fungi, and animals. And so one of the things I like for students to be able to take what they learn in class and apply it to what they see outside. Because a lot of times students will just compartmentalize the class, and they don't really realize that what they're learning in the class actually applies every single day of their life. And they see, and at least in my class, it's kind of cool because they see all this stuff every day. They might not realize they're seeing it, but they see it. And so that's the idea of these scavenger hunts, is to get them outside and looking for the items that we are seeing in class. It's also a great way for them to kind of test themselves, right? Because we've already learned about the material in lecture and lab, and now they can go out and see if they can, identify these organisms out in nature. So it's just a great engagement tool. When done in a face-to-face class, it's a great way to kind of build camaraderie and teamwork, because they work in groups a lot of the times on these scavenger hunts. And so that's a kind of another secondary benefit of them.
That's awesome. I love the way it sounds. I love the idea, and I love the fact that, the students are having to work to apply it, the classroom knowledge to the real world. I think that's incredible. So I guess that leads me to the question: how did you come up with the idea, and what was your inspiration for how to apply it to your subject matter?
Yeah, so it's something I've thought about for a while. I'm always looking to get students as active and engaged as possible. When I taught a non-majors bio course, we did a plant lab, and as part of the plant lab, we did a plant tour. And so, the instructors in the class, we would go out, and the instructor, myself or other instructors, depending on the class, but we would just kind of lead the students around campus, showing them the different plants and plant groups that we had on campus that we've been learning about. But I just always thought it was, the students would just ho-hum, you could see the boredom on their face a lot of the time. And so I just had been looking for something to, get them more engaged, but still, utilize this plant tour in some way. And so myself and a colleague of mine, Kimberly Newton, we came up with this idea to, do a scavenger hunt. So in place of the plant tour, we wouldn't go out with them. We would just send them out with a list of items to find. And so I think that's kind of how it all, how I at least began doing the scavenger hunts, is with that. And then it was very successful, and the students loved it. And so it just kind of built from there. And so from that, we just refined it and made that scavenger hunt better. And for a while that was good. And then COVID hit. And once we were online, I had to find some way to, again, get these students to see this stuff outside. We weren't on campus. I couldn't take them outside to show them this stuff. They weren't seeing the live specimens in class like they used to. And so I started using these scavenger hunts in the online setting. So I would give them a scavenger hunt to, say, hey, go find an ecological community outside in your backyard or at a local park. And then they would have to go out and, snap pictures of them in a community, right?
Yeah.
And so I had like 4 to 5 of these, what I called online scavenger hunts, right? or biology scavenger hunts, and they would go and do them, and then they would post their pictures to a discussion board that everyone else in the class could see. And then from there, I've kind of built it since then, and now I use it. I have multiple scavenger hunts that I do in my face-to-face classes. So we learn about protists, and part of that, most of these organisms are microscopic. But what's cool is myself and again my colleague Kimberly Newton, we came up with a protist or a pond water scavenger hunt. So I bring in a bunch of different types of pond water, and they look through the pond water in their microscope, just a drop on a microscope slide, and then they have a list of various microscopic organisms, protists, and small microscopic animals that they try to find in the microscope. And when they find one, they call me over, and I check it to make sure that they've actually found the right item. And so again, it's just another fun way to get them actively thinking about what they've learned, and now trying to find it, and I actually identify it in a real sample. It's kind of cool.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so cool to see how you're incorporating, everything with it. It sounds like a class I think I would want to take. Learn a lot from taking your class.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, and that's it's a great thing, right? That to have them, finally be like, oh, wow, I can actually find these things that I'm learning about. It's really awesome, whether it's in the microscope or outside. They seem to love it.
Very cool. So I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, so it sounds like there's a lot of stuff that goes on both when it's in the online environment or when you're conducting it face to face. So could you tell me a little bit about sort of the prep and planning that it takes to do all of this?
Yeah. So the prep and planning, it's a little different depending on if you're going to do this face to face or if you're going to do it online. So I'll talk about the face to face scavenger hunts first.
Okay.
So if you're planning to do this on campus, right, you pick some sort of topic, right? So like I'll just keep using the example of plants. So I'm going to have them go out and find various plants using a list of certain plant features that I want them to find a plant that has a certain feature or whatever. So the number one thing I do is I go pre-scout campus to make sure that they can find what they need to find. And usually I will try to restrict them to a specific part of campus so that they're just not everywhere. And I think that's a big thing too. I don't want this to last 3 hours, right? And so you want to kind of think about how long you want the activity to last, and how far around campus you want them to go. And so for me, I usually, at least for this plant scavenger hunt, I recommend that they search around the general science building and in the general science courtyard. And I've scouted out the area, so I know that they can find everything on the list in that kind of general area. And then I kind of think about how many items are on the list and how much time they're going to need. And so then I'll usually set a time limit as well. And so I'll say, okay, you've got 30 minutes to go find these 12 items. And I usually will have them write down what time they need to be back, and I assess a penalty if they're late.
And so what is the penalty, if you don't mind me asking?
So the whole idea, part of I think the draw that students like about these scavenger hunts is it's kind of like it's a competition, right? It's not only learning, but now they're competing against their classmates to see who can find the most.
Yeah.
And so it's not just who can find the most, but it's who can find the most in the shortest amount of time. And so, I, when they come back, I check their, little checklist, and for, it's usually not a points-based assignment. It's maybe part of a larger lab. But I say, we're going to have a competition, and the winners will, win some sort of prize or whatever. And so when they come back, I tally up how many of the items they found, and then we write it up on the board. We keep like a little scorecard on the board.
Oh, I love it. It sounds like, those gamified elements. I may need to bring you back for another discussion at some point about gamification.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, and then if they get back late, so I say for every minute they're back late, they lose 1 point, right? So if they found 12 items, but they were 2 minutes late, they only got 10 points and not 12 points.
Got it. Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing, right? You want to make sure you kind of have a general idea of how long it's going to take them to find these items. So yeah, scouting is the big thing if you're going to do it on campus, or, even if you're sending them off to a museum. So maybe they're doing this on their own at a museum, you should have gone to the museum, scouted it out, make sure, everything they're going to look for is there. Right? or my pond water, right? I assess the pond water to make sure everything is there and can be found, right? And if it's not, then I'll let them know in class, right? Oh, we need to modify this one because an amoeba isn't there, so let's change that to something else. So that's the face-to-face. That's the biggest thing. It's just the scouting ahead of time. Maybe during your scouting, you're using your scouting trip, your pre-planning trip to make your list of items.
That's awesome.
If you're going to do an online scavenger hunt with where they're going to do this at home on their own, and not in class, and they're not restricted to the BC campus, I think the big thing here is you're going to have to keep your items in your scavenger hunt list a little more broad in nature, just because you don't know what these students have at their house or at the park, right? And a lot of them, maybe they're not going to be able to drive. Maybe they don't have a car, so they're not going to be able to go look somewhere other than their house or their neighborhood. And so you got to keep your lists a little broader in maybe the description of what they're going to be looking for. And that way, again, you'll ensure that hopefully they'll find it. Or you make a big list. Like I know I do a lot of the times. I'll give them a large list of items, and I'll tell them to find 3 of them, right? And so the hope is that they could at least find 3 of the items at their house, in their yard, in their neighborhood, without even having to drive anywhere.
Got it. And I know that, well, I had a kind of a follow-up question, if you don't mind. So as you have students at home, have you ever run into students with tech issues or not having access to the tech required for it? And, are there ways in which you sort of, work with them to still accomplish the same thing, or how do you handle it?
Yeah, so that's I think the beauty of at least the way that I do these scavenger hunts is all that's required is a phone, right? Or a camera. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, nowadays everybody's got a cell phone with a camera on it. And so that really makes life easy. And all they have to be able to do is take a picture and then upload that picture to a discussion board post, which is usually how I do these when it's kind of individual on their own at home. Is it's just they're posting their picture to a discussion board, and maybe adding in a comment or 2 about what they found and how they know that that's what it is. So no, I really haven't. I think the only tech issue I've had is I do ask the students to embed their images in the discussion board. And occasionally they will struggle with that. They'll want to attach instead of embed, or they can't find, on Canvas, if anybody's ever used the Canvas mobile app.
Oh, yeah.
When you go to embed an image, we had this issue. They can't find the little embed icon, and it's because you have to actually scroll. You have to scroll the little icons over, and it's hidden off to the side. It took me like an hour to find it. And one time when a student was having trouble.
It's kind of like a rite of passage to using the Canvas mobile app, right? You
right?
have to go through that. We all do, right?
Yeah, you got to find the little intricacies. So other than that, no, I really haven't had any issues. Now I've actually looked into, and actually I think I took a class from you, Matt, on some sort of digital scavenger hunt or scavenger hunt apps or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I've never actually, gone in and used one of those. It's always just like a piece of paper that I give them, right, and send them out, or just a list that I give them online. So, if you're using one of those scavenger hunt apps, I'm sure there's a lot more technology issues you might run into. But the way I do it, it's just very basic, very simple.
Nice. It sounds, I was going to say, I love the simplicity of it, and it's got to make just the sort of, onboarding or something, about it much simpler for the student as you're introducing the activity. It doesn't take a lot of, there's not a huge learning curve in order to do it, or time out of class in order to explain how to do it.
Yeah. And that's, and the good thing too, with when you do have them do it at home on their own, and you're using, Canvas to help you, I think my other suggestion would be just be as explicit as possible in your instructions. And Canvas makes that easy, because you can just list every single instruction point that you want to give them in the discussion board topic. And again, it's for the most part foolproof.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me. So, I mean, even just here talking with you, it seems like I imagine myself being a student in your class, and it seems like this would be it would make you seem very approachable to me as a student. So I'm curious to know, what sort of feedback you've gotten from your students, either on that front, but just about the activity and your scavenger hunts in general.
Yeah, all the feedback has been very positive. On the days we do them in class, they're, for the most part, they're all like ready to just head out and go do it.
Yeah.
There's maybe a few students who are just like, I don't want to do this. But for the most part, everyone's really excited. I actually do survey my students at the end of every semester. I just kind of an informal, anonymous survey that I do via Canvas. And I ask them two questions. I say, well, what did you like best about the class? And ask them to be very specific. And then what if they had got to change one thing about the class to improve it, what would they recommend? And every semester for the what did they like best, I get a large number of the responses are they like the scavenger hunts. And they said they liked the reason they like the scavenger hunts is, again, it gets them outside and out of class, and exploring a little bit. They get to work with their lab partners a little more, and a few of them say that it's a great way to get to know their lab partners a lot better. And actually, some of them have recommended I do it earlier in the semester and don't wait so long to start them. And so I'm thinking this, for other classes that are looking to do this, this could be a good first day icebreaker. It could be a great way to have them exploring the different resources that BC offers by going around campus, finding the different offices that are useful to them.
Oh,
Kind
of like something like in Summer Bridge or something like that could be applied. Yeah, love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then for the items that they would improve, it's funny because some of the feedback I've gotten for like improvement was add more scavenger hunts. So
so how many do you have in there in a class right now?
So, right now we do, now I do a plant scavenger hunt for our, at the end of our plant unit. I do a pond water scavenger hunt for our protists. I'll do another pond water scavenger hunt when we are discussing animals, because there's a lot of microscopic animals that actually live in aquatic environments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 in person. And then they do 4 outside of class on their own and submit those via Canvas. So right now I've got about 7 scavenger hunts that I do.
Scott, just to interject, I was a competitive swimmer. And I think compared to the size of the other swimmers that I swam with, I could be considered one of those microorganisms in an aquatic environment at the time. Yeah,
for sure. You could definitely be a zooplankton, Matt.
Right. Excellent. So I guess what I'll wrap up with, Scott, is for other faculty looking to adopt something like this into their classroom, do you have anything else, any advice or anything else you'd like to add just to sort of help guide them or inform them of things they should consider?
Yeah, sure, Matt. So I think the first thing, if someone's wanting to try this out, I would just say start small. And that's really what we did, right? We started with just a really small list of plant characteristics that we wanted them to find outside, and now it's been we've built it into a much larger list. So start small, see how it goes, maybe make it just a quick 5-10 minute activity where they have to find 1 or 2 items, and then if it goes well and the students like it, you keep building on it and adding more. Planning ahead is essential, right? If you want it to be successful and you want the students to enjoy it, you have to make sure you put a lot of preparation in ahead of time to make sure that, like I said, they're going to actually be able to find the items, right? So knowing where to have them look and knowing how much time to give them, I think is pretty important. And those scouting trips ahead of time, I think, are important. 3, I would say, don't worry about being super high tech, right? Keep it simple. You give them a sheet of paper with a list of items on it, and send them out. Another thing I should have told you, but I didn't mention, is when I have them do these scavenger hunts and I send them out, face to face or at home, to ensure that they're actually, taking the pictures themselves and not just getting images off of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I do make them take a selfie with the item.
It's a good thing to note, yeah.
Which also kind of makes it fun. And then if they're out in a group, I have them either take a selfie of the whole group in front of the item, which can be kind of fun for them.
Yeah.
Or I will give them an item that must be in the picture. So usually a lot of times with the face-to-face on BC campus scavenger hunts, I actually give them my business card, and I make them include my business card in all of their pictures.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's, you'll want if you want to if you're going to do this, that's what I would recommend. Like make sure that you're giving them something or making them include something in the image so that you can hopefully be assured that they took the image on that particular day and didn't just pull it from the internet. And then one other thing as I was getting ready for this interview, actually, I started thinking, for some disciplines, maybe pictures aren't going to work as well. So I was thinking maybe physics might be one where a photo scavenger hunt might not be great because physics has a lot to do with motion, right?
Right.
And so I was thinking for some, maybe a video scavenger hunt might be more appropriate for the discipline, right? And so maybe don't limit yourself to just pictures, right? Think about maybe using video as well.
Excellent. So I guess on that note, if there is a department or a faculty that wants to use a video scavenger hunt, they'd probably need to reach out to us in academic tech just to boost up the size of their class so that it can handle all those large files coming in. But yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining me today. I love, thank you for sharing your creativity, your brilliance in this activity. And I hope that other faculty have learned a lot from this and will be able to implement scavenger hunts in their classes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if any faculty want to do this and want any suggestions or have any questions, they can feel free to contact me anytime.
Excellent. Is it cool if I, give them your email in I can put it in the YouTube description or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
See you around campus.
Yeah. Bye.
Well, that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning from Scott as much as I did. If you would like to see us do more interviews from faculty around campus, why don't you go ahead and give us a like and leave a comment letting us know, and we'll see what we can do. Other than that, that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.